the public. We post this online if you didn't get a chance to see it. So this is 24-25. The mission and vision have remained the same. World-class learning, world-class learning for students, and world-class citizens. We want to create an environment where all kids are achieving at a very high level. Our mission statement provides all students a quality education through the collaborative efforts of the schools, families, and all stakeholders to create productive citizens in our ever-changing society. This is obviously very much a boilerplate motto, but we do want to live up to this accent every single day. So next up, you'll see our guiding principles right there. Essentially, the big thing I want to highlight there is 3 up from the bottom. Student failure should be used as learning opportunities. We don't believe that every student is going to come to us perfectly, that we're going to be perfect, but every student must achieve at a high level ultimately, but you don't get there unless you fail along the way. Same thing is expected of our adults. We do the same thing for them to make sure they are trying and working through issues as they go throughout their day. Next up, there are 6 general systems of support that the State Department looks at. So we have facilities and transportation, academics, human capital, student support, stakeholder engagement, and district fiscal operations. This is posted in the link to this website. You'll be able to see all these different categories. This is tied to our actual accreditation report. So the cycle of inquiry. We truly believe that you plan, you do, you check, and it's a circular thing that you continue to do. But students should be at the very heart of every single decision that we make. We don't always do this well. I'm the superintendent. I can say sometimes we miss the mark, but that is what we're trying to do. All arrows pointing in the right direction, the same direction, so we can achieve at a high level. As many of you know, we received a Magnet grant 2 years ago. We're in our 2nd year of implementation here for a Magnet grant. We have a pre-K through 12 approach, elementary school all the way through high school. We've redefined the profile of a high school graduate, so more and more students are now graduating with that associate's degree, with a skill trade certification, 1 year of college completed, or even a technical certificate. And we're continually revamping that process to have more and more students graduate in one of those categories. We start that, though, in pre-K and even before. We've expanded the number of students in our pre-K program. We've expanded our home visiting network system. We have STEAM pathways at Burl Henry Elementary School, Yerger Middle School, and expanded our HAPS pathway to not just be public service, but also digital literacy. You can just check out our website as you're watching this video, see other videos on our website that really tackle all of the different areas that we're doing with student interaction, student posting of those media production. This is a very loud. All right, next, this is a general slide. So we have a Magnet Fair every year. Now, keep in mind, next year we're having a reconfiguration where we're having our middle schools go from 3 to 2. A lot of reasons for that. Some of that is general programming, making sure more and more kids have access to all the programs that we offer. Some of that is a cost savings and then how we're utilizing buildings. I believe this will be a great indicator for our future success as we're looking at letter grade systems in schools that are received from the Department of Education and just our overall curricular planning. A lot of kids are choicing into all of our programs. We'll see some of those Magnet offerings: East, Drama, Choir, Visual Arts, Digital Cinema, Project Lead the Way, all the way through the high school graduation where they're going to and through college. Now keep in mind, there's an innovation now that you should be aware of. The college is presently working on it, which is 2 certificates of proficiency leading into 1 technical certificate, which basically means a value-added diploma can be accessible for more and more of our kids. So everybody knows about the associate's degree. We have about 20, last year we had 23 kids. Going forward, we'll have even more kids graduating with an associate's degree as they graduate high school. Now, the next level to that is a technical certificate, which is kind of hard to get. Working with UAHT now, more and more kids, we're anticipating about 20, not this year, but the following year, will actually graduate with a technical certificate, which translates to better paying jobs and access to the workforce quicker. Child nutrition, Dina Gilbert, she's killing it. She's absolutely making sure we've expanded our offerings for all kids. Chartwells is our provider. They do a great job with school and student choice options. We have a farm to school program where we've done a really good job of making sure that the community is involved in our decisions. So principal and teacher support, we work with NIET which is obviously a great national network. They work a lot in Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas. They do a great job working with our principals and our teachers around curricular support and Tier 1 instruction support. Newly minted, the Bailey Group, they've been partnering with the co-op for the last year. They work with our principals and assistant principals as well on leadership development. A new thing that we have this year in data analysis is the bottom bullet point there, district quarterly assessments. So we have found, if anybody knows this, we have found that the ACT Aspire assessment was not very predictive of student outcomes at the end of the year, even the interim assessments. So what we've done now with the new Atlas system, we have the interim assessment with Atlas. There's also a classroom tool that teachers use. But across the entire district, we've revamped our pacing guide for every single core content area, and then also attached district quarterly assessments to it, where we norm across all of our grade levels, across our schools, to make sure that we're hitting the mark for grade level instruction. So we had our first round that just got completed, or is being completed right now. We have one retake happening on one of our campuses. The week after that, I'll be with every single principal in those buildings working, talking about the results of those and then the coaching plans for teachers as a result of that. So this is tied directly to high quality materials and high quality Tier 1 instruction, which is what all kids get. Facilities master plan, there's a lot there. You'll see this is linked to the website, so if you're watching this online, you'll be able to see that. Some big things that are happening. We currently are finishing our Agri complex. That was a huge undertaking. I had students that graduated 30 years ago that told me it was 30 years overdue, so it's something we really need to look at. We were blessed to have some private donor money mixed with facilities partnership money with the state, and we're also blessed to have money with our building fund to be able to complete that Agri project and to complete a show barn next to it. So by the time you're watching this or heading into the Christmas time, all of that should be completed out there on 16th Street. Heading up now, we have the fence at Royal Henry that just got put up. We're also leaning into the Yerger Gym complex, so we received state funding for the Yerger Gym complex at 74%. That project will start hopefully in the spring and be completed by the end of the summertime for the next school year. Really excited about that. We're actively looking at football turf because it's about at its life. We're actively looking at the Yerger Plaza outside just to beautify that campus. The vestibule in the front of Yerger because it needs a dual entry system for safety, which it currently does not have. In addition to this, I'll just go ahead and talk a little bit about the upgrades with technology and cameras that we're undergoing. You know, KLC will be at the board meeting today talking a little bit about the innovations and the upgrades that we've done with them. We received a COPS grant. It's a $500,000 grant in addition to the state grant money of $186,000 just for security upgrades. And so for us, we were on the cutting edge of security and cameras and those door access systems 15, 20 years ago, but those things as hardware comes to the end of its natural life. So we will be updating all of those over the course of this school year. So by the end of the year, we'll be in a really nice position where all of our cameras are functioning and working, our hotspots are updated, all the system is working together, and we feel really good about our security on every single campus. There we go. District demographics. This is essentially the same as it was last year in terms of numbers and percentages. So we're about 19% white, 44% African American, 33% Hispanic. That's been stable probably for the last 5 school years. ADM, third quarter ADM, slightly down this year, about 15 students. As you'll see, that number is down below 2,100. However, the number when you include the expanded pre-K takes it back up to 22. So the natural enrollment projections that you get in different avenues expands it out a decade. And you'll see that this portion of the state specifically, South Arkansas, and even rural areas across the state have slightly declining enrollment. As you'll see, we're down 15 kids, so slightly declining enrollment. But the issue really for us is how do we maximize the choice programs we have for the kids currently, as that will also be attractive for other kids in other areas as well. We've had students from other areas choice in just this year, and I think the more and more the word gets out on that, the more and more that number stabilizes. And then the last thing nobody really talks about, but I was a part of the conversation today, folks aren't having as many children as they used to have. That's just a natural, like actual thing that's really happening in the world, a phenomenon that's actually happening. So we'll keep a close eye on this because if any of you know, this number is directly tied to funding the state receives from the that we receive from the state every single year. So district highlights, there's a lot here. So we've raised money in our private endowment, that $15 million magnet grant, 21st Century grant, $200,000 for after-school programming. We transferred $600,000 to the building fund just last year. Bobcat's work program has even expanded for students in special education for this year, so more and more access to kids having internships and jobs while they're in school. That NIET work has been crucial for our curriculum development and streamlining that. The CSL grant, which is supporting teachers, but also has a retention bonus that is generally tied to that. This is our third year with that. UDL for comprehensive support planning for students and inclusion, which is a big state initiative. And then new curriculum paid for with ARP money. All that to say, there is a lot going on in all six. I would go back and forth quickly, but I'm fearful I wouldn't get back to it in time. The six systems that we work on as a district are all active and vibrant, and we work through every single one of those almost every single day. We talked about this, got this approved last month, our budget. We're in healthy budget shape for our current operations. As we go forward, this is a conversation I'm having with the board and I've had with my administrators. We're looking for ways to actively save money throughout the course of these next 5 to 10 years for larger projects that we want to do, which includes salary increases and building projects. We're not trying to have a riff where we, have a list of teachers or classified staff that we let go. What we're looking to do is maximize the number of staff members that we have that we know we need to have, and taking a look at that. So long story short, if a staff member leaves us or retires or resigns over the next 5 years, we will actively be looking to see, okay, do we need to fill this position? Can we move a teacher or someone from this position to that position without adding another full-time employee? Just ways to be smarter with the money. Because long term, and we've talked about it as a board and even as a school system, we want to actively look at ways to increase salaries for different employee groups and also complete these knowingly much needed building projects. This is our financial award notification, just our different areas. We do receive a lot of specialized categorical federal aids in the form of these federal grants, which are Title 1 through 5, and ESA, which is our state funding, enhanced student achievement funding, which we really utilize. And I'll just mention this as a frame of reference for you all. ESA is a very important funding source that we receive. All of our concurrent funds, our alternative education funds, different positions that we staff that are not in the funding matrix for our district, which is what the state gives us money for, but outside of that scope, we utilize with ESA funding. So as enrollment increases, whatever that number is, about 15 kids or 1,500, there is a monetary amount associated with that. So that's why it's so vitally important every year to look at the student enrollment and then your projected expenses. We do that ongoing. We have a great business office and we actively monitor that. All right, so if you've been paying attention here this year, you know that we've had a lot of upgrades in curriculum. We've updated our 4 core curriculum areas while adding Project Lead the Way, Star Academy at Yerger. We've utilized some of those resources to implement our hands-on programming there. Our magnet funds always enhanced. We've even purchased some hands-on subscriptions for all of our teachers to be able to plan more hands-on lessons with our kids across all content areas. Test scores, as of today, they dropped yesterday evening, and so we're in the middle of disaggregating some of that data around test scores, and we've seen some of that positive result really come, especially in the elementary level, doubling down on intervention time, doubling down on Tier 1 instruction, being very intentional with our support systems. We are meeting or above the state average on many of those reading categories, which we couldn't say a few years ago. So there's obviously, that's a bright spot. There's some areas that we're not so proud of as of today, and we'll talk about that more as that information becomes discussed more broadly. But, long story short, focusing on the science of reading, focusing on intervention time, focusing on what kids actually need and not just a shotgun approach to education is where we have to be. And we're levelizing our instruction in that way, and that is really stinking hard work. So if you know a teacher or you are a teacher, just know thank you or thank them because they're working their butts off every single day, and the results are coming. I can guarantee the results are coming, but it's not magic. There is an art and a science to it, and we're just blessed to have wonderful educators here in Hope Public Schools. We have additional programs, iReady and iExcel, that assist us with the statewide system. So there's the Atlas Assessment Portal, A lot of people talk about this. I'll give you, if you're watching this online or you're in the crowd, I will give this plug. The new assessment system that the state is utilizing actually is a positive because everything is right there versus in previous years where it's all over the place. Now, it does depend on the functionality and how we're able to function with the data, but we are, in theory, should be able to make more predictive decisions with kids every single month. That just kind of says the schedule. We've adopted all 4 cores over the last 3 years, which is a blessing. We utilize the ARP and other COVID monies for that. This is discussing literacy plans. So we are on there's 5 levels of support with the state around literacy. It rotates every couple of years. So we're on the level 3, which is not intensive or it's not closely. It's like general monitoring that we receive. So we receive a general monitoring from the state on elementary grade level reading, which honestly, I think has been a beneficial and helpful thing. We have quarterly meetings with the State Department and our state assigned literacy coach, which many of you know is Mary Berry, who worked at the co-op before and has kids in this school system. So I'm really proud of our communication efforts. Obviously, we can always find ways to improve, but David Henderson is here videoing this as we speak. Wonderful things being put forward. We really want to be more and more proactive with our communication. I feel like we're hitting the mark on that. Most of the time, obviously, if you disagree with that, please send us a message and let us know. We have a partnership with SWART related to the football games, and they're just a general good partner with us. Our magnet grant this is what I'm probably most proud of. Creating an environment where kids are now taking the ownership of the videography and the interviewing and all that. Now, we're not at the professional level of that, but we do have professional educators who are assisting with that. So if you walk out here and you go into the culture fair, you'll see students actively videoing, actively interviewing. Many of you may have even been interviewed by students at an event that we've had at Hope Global Schools. That's the future. That's where we want to be. That's where we want to go. Kids are writing about their experiences, interviewing folks about their experiences, having podcasts about their experiences, because that's the new way of approaching digital literacy being the word out. You'll also see a community nomination process for Educator Hall of Fame. Shameless plug. This Friday is our Hope Hall of Fame celebration. We have 5 wonderful educators that we are recognizing. We do between 3 and 5 educators every single year. So please come out and support at 2:00 p.m. this evening or on Friday afternoon, and then the football game on Friday night will be honored before the game. The Back to School Bash is always a hit. We generally have 2,000 people or so that show up every year for that. This was no exception. But to circle back to a comment I made earlier, this year was different because kids were really in the midst of it. We had kids on this stage right here on a schedule, interviewing adults, interviewing kids, interviewing partners, walking around taking pictures and video and doing videography of the actual event. And that's where we're heading. So if you see a kid out there doing it, please encourage them to keep it going. Special POPs. This was a report that we've talked about recently with the board. You'll see the numbers there for special education in 504. Special education buses. We have contract services for occupational therapy and physical therapy and speech. We have 1 full-time ed examiner, which not all school districts do. We even contract with some former SPED teachers to assist with the paperwork. ESOL, you saw the numbers, 33% of our population, so 441 students, but coordinator, teachers, translator, and this year we've really done a more intentional job of communicating with our translator interpreter. We've identified this as an area of growth for us, making sure we're proactive with communication in Spanish, which we aren't always, just because we're hurrying to get the word out. We know we can do a better job of making sure all the communication is in English and also in Spanish. Dyslexia, we have a dyslexia graduation every single year. Ms. Karen Ivers is the overall coordinator for the district, and we have 8 therapists in total. They do a phenomenal job of not only exiting students, but staying close to students through their career trajectory. Just could not be more proud of them. And they've been doing it even before the law became a mandatory thing in 2013. They've been working on this, I think, since 2012, if I'm not mistaken. So a good kudos to them. Child Find. This is a state required, is a component of the Individuals with Disabilities Act that requires states to identify, locate, and evaluate all children with disabilities aged birth to 21 who are in need of early intervention or special education services, which is irrespective of if they're in our school district or not. Early intervention services in Arkansas are under the direction of IDEA, Early Intervention Program of the Arkansas Department of Human Services, ages infants 3 years. The Arkansas Department of Education is the lead agency for services for individuals 3 through 21. And again, this is just state required that I have to make sure that you guys understand and know. Children, last statement, children in the Hope public schools who manifest declining academic performance, problems with behavioral issues, or target bullying or manifest bullying behavior, suffer extended illness, or medically diagnosed with a recognized disability, fail to attend class or manifest anxiety about attendance, have been hospitalized for a psychiatric treatment or suicide attempt, are English language learners, or manifest issues with the response to intervention RTI process, may be referred for special services. And so that's why our numbers are what they are in the 200s and 300s, but making sure we identify students who are in need of services and they get those services. So, you know, we just had a meeting the other day where we get the word out for private schools, private school children, our students, anybody in the general area. We will help and assist in servicing those students. Again, if they're in our zone, we will make sure they get the services that they need. We added social workers a couple of years ago. They've been a really huge influence in cracking down on students who are student absenteeism, kids who are missing days. Very proud of the work there. We added those home-to-school advisors who are working on baby college and parent academy on the pre-K through 5-year-old level. We have career coaches who are so vital in the 2 and 3 process, making sure kids get 2 and 3, those high school programs where they can get an associate's degree, or get a certificate of proficiency, or get a technical certificate. That's all that work and collaboration that happens inside of our schools in conjunction with UAHT. Bobcat Clinic, one of the hugest value adds I think that we have in our entire district. Years ago when this was first created, I don't think everybody knew how extensive the services would be. But we have everything from physicals that get done to COVID testing and those things when that was really hot and heavy 3 years ago. Immunizations, you know, obviously have physicals already. Behavioral health encounters right there inside of their offices. They run the MOUs with the behavioral health services. Could not be more proud of how engaged they are inside of our school district and then how they communicate that externally to parents and other stakeholders as well. We've even added a more present situation with our Smiles or digital services where we assist kids getting dental services. So not every school district has this. Community-based health centers are not everywhere. We are blessed to have them. We've upgraded our human capital processes. It's slowed down the processes in some ways for principals to make them more aware of background checks and vetting in those ways. I know that's to the chagrin of principals sometimes, but it really ultimately benefits our system with getting the right teachers and the right professionals in our schools. We have certified and classified evaluations. So a couple of years ago, we didn't really have classified evaluations on the books. Now we do every year. It's a requirement to have a classified evaluation. It's a reiteration of what we talked about earlier. Again, we talked a little bit about this already. The big picture item we discussed already for upgrades. We have, you know, essentially $2 million every year that gets put into transportation and maintenance within our school system. This is just some of the things that we realize for to make sure that we are working in an optimal fashion. I guess a side note, we had a team come down on one of the projects that we applied for at Hope High School last year, and the facilities group came down just this past year, inspected the building and the ask that we had, and they said, you know, this building might be in too good of a condition to receive partnership money for this particular thing, which sounds like terrible news, but it's also a testament to the work that's taken place over the last decade and longer to make sure that Hope High School looks good, feels good, it's clean. And I know there's always gripes and complaints about things could be a little better, and that is 100% true. But overall, comparatively, our facilities are actually in really good shape, irrespective of how old they may be, whether they were built in the 70s, the 60s, and in some cases, the 50s. Transportation, we upgraded our GPS systems, our bus fleet. We've added new school buses over the last 3 years with that ARP money and continue to work to make sure routes are not too long for our students. So I think that's a big testament to our communications department. So there are 22 bus routes, 6 sub buses, 4 trip buses readily available. And that comes in handy with any of the many extracurriculars that we have, or competitions that we have, we're able to readily have transportation available, and even bus drivers. So I know many districts are really, really struggling for bus drivers. We have wonderful bus drivers who step up, and many of them do other roles within our system, a paraprofessional, a teacher, a coach, you name it. They're not only a bus driver in our system, they do other jobs. So they're dedicated to kids fully, for sure. All right, so that is like the PowerPoint version of this, and I know we're probably at time, but that's, I mean, if you're in here and know me, I know how I operate in general, I'm probably over time, at 3 minutes. But I just want to say this. The direction that we're going as a school system is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, however, it is intentional. So we've been working throughout this year and probably the last 18 months to make sure that we have all of our arrows going in the same direction around all of the different innovations that we have. So whether that's elementary grade level reading, all the way through high school, to be on the same exact page. The school board meeting that will come right after this, you'll see 7 board members who really are working in conjunction to make the very best decisions that they can make for kids. And we have wonderful community members. So there's a lot going on right now. Like today is a big day. So we have the culture fair, we have this state choir thing that we do, we have a school board meeting, we have upgrades, we have awards that we're giving out. The big takeaway here is you will get out of something what you put into something. And we have so many educators and we have so many even students who are putting so much into their daily education every single day. You can get whatever your heart desires, whatever your dream is, right here at Hope Public Schools. The things that are available inside of this system are literally, this is not hyperbole, literally unmatched anywhere in our area. So our award-winning band programs, award-winning athletic programs. Just today, Monica Bobo finished 3rd in the entire state in tennis, a vibrant tennis program. We have wonderful extracurriculars. Our robotics team goes to Worlds every year, competing on state level. We have kids who graduate from the system who are competing and winning in world competitions once they get into college. We have kids graduating with associate's degrees before they even graduate from here. We have kids working full-time jobs, essentially, while having a flexible schedule here, and then translating that into a full-time, high-wage job at 18, 19, 20 years old. We have teachers, our paraprofessionals who are going off to be teachers' aides and getting into a residency, coming back and being full-time teachers. We have secretaries who want to be teachers who turn into teachers because they're supported by their school system. We have facility upgrades that are happening, transportation upgrades that are happening, grant money that we're seeking and receiving because people want to buy into the story that we're telling about what kids are doing every single day. And we cannot do it without you. So whether you're watching this online or you're right here in the audience, we cannot do this without you. We are so 100% all in for the future of Hope Public Schools, the future of our kids. And something I say, and I mean it every time I say it, even if I haven't told you recently, I love you. And so do our administrators, so do our teachers, so do our schools. We love you. And that's parents, that's community, and especially that's students. Because if we keep students at the core of everything that we do and make ethical and moral decisions for the betterment of kids, we will win every single time. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes that's a decision that you may not like in the short term, but it has to be for the long-term benefit of kids. That's what we do here. I can't speak for anybody else in any other districts. That's what we do here. And I'm so honestly humbled and thankful to be the superintendent here. This is just a few of the things that we do. Again, this is the state required portion of this, but you can probably tell once I put that clicker down. If you come talk to me anytime about this, because we are dedicated to the cause to make sure your child gets a high quality, equitable, wonderful education to set them up for success in the future. So before we transition to our school board meeting, which is relatively straightforward this evening, but might take a little while. Do any of you have any questions for me while I'm up here with a microphone and my preacher suit? Any questions? All right. Thank you so much for your attendance today. We will transition briefly. Just give us a moment.